Welcome to Unit 2 of Core Principles of Theming in Magento 2. Now we'll discuss customization tasks. In this module, we will cover how to manage static theme files, less implementation, how to use the UI library, and less compilation and processing details. Here are some useful tips. Turn off Magento caching and flush all Magento caches. Here are some of the file types we'll be discussing. These are additional static files stored in the web fonts, web JavaScript, and web images directories. These are the font, JavaScript, and image files used in this theme. The default name and format of a logo image is logo, SVG, and it's expected to be found in the App, Design, Front-End, Vendor, Theme, Web, Images folder. It automatically recognizes the theme logo and displayed in your store page header once the theme is applied, subject to these requirements. If it uses the same name and format as the parent's theme logo, there's no need to declare it. If you use a different name, you do need to declare it. Follow the instructions shown on the slide. Use the example shown on this slide to add additional style sheets to the output by adding the slide contents to any layout XML. Keep in mind that all layout XML is merged. In this context, layout update handles will matter. You can refer to the examples from Catalog XML in the Catalog Product View node. Follow the instructions shown on the slide. Dynamic view files are processed or run by the server to provide resulting content for the client. These are less files, templates, or layouts. Now we'll take a closer look at using less files in Magento 2. In this module, you will learn about less file locations, and key less files. What's different in Magento 2? This discussion focuses on the changes that affect front-end developers. Magento 2 introduces support for less. Less and CSS can now both be used, while previously only CSS was supported. Less simplifies the management of complex CSS files and makes creating themes easier, although you can continue to define styles without using less. Magento also provides a built-in less UI library, which you can optionally extend. We'll take a look at that later. Less is a CSS preprocessor that extends the CSS language. It adds features that allow you to make CSS that's more maintainable, themable, and extendable. Magento 2 incorporates less and provides a built-in less UI library which you can optionally extend. To define styles of a Magento store, you can use both CSS and less style sheets. Here are some of the key differences provided by Magento 2 and less: faster development, simpler customization, cleaner structure, selectors nesting, use of variables, extends, and operations, the use of math operations, for example. After you create a theme, before you start to change the styles, decide which less compilation mode you will use. There are two modes available in Magento: server-side compilation mode, the default one recommended for production, and client-side recommended for theme development. Server-side less compilation. This is the default compilation mode. It's the only option in production application mode. In this case, the compilation is performed on the server using the less PHP library. Client-side less compilation. When your application is not in production mode, you can set Magento to compile less files in a browser using the native less.js library. Extending a theme by using _extend.less is the simplest option when you're happy with everything in the parent theme, but you want to add more styles. Simply make your less changes in the _extend.less file. To override parent styles, that is, to override the default Magento UI library variables, create a _theme.less file in the web, CSS, source subdirectory. Copy all the variables you need from the parent_theme.less, including those which will not be changed. Then make your changes. The Magento Front-End Developer Guide includes a topic that explains this in depth. See simple style changes with client-side less compilation versus server-side for details in the developer documentation. In addition to the options described here, you can also develop a theme using Grunt. Grunt is discussed later. How does less work in Magento? Let's find out. To customize storefront styles, you need to create a custom design theme. Then you can use one of the following approaches. If your theme inherits from the default blank or any other theme that uses the Magento UI library, you can override the default less files. Create your own less files using the built-in less preprocessor, or create your own CSS files, optionally having compiled them using a third-party CSS preprocessor. Note that all customizations should be stored in your custom theme. Theme CSS and less files are stored only in themes. There are CSS and less files in other places. For example, in lib, web, CSS. Less files can also be found in app, design, front end, namespace, theme, web, CSS. However, those are not the theme CSS and less files. This table shows the structure of less resources for the Magento blank and Luma themes. Custom themes, especially if they're not based on the Magento UA library, may have a different structure. Module-specific styles, CSS or less files. General styles for the module are in the module less file, and styles for the widgets are in the widgets.less file. You can also view this table in the topic Include CSS, located in the front-end developer documentation. Here are some of the important less files that you need to know about. Note that the underscore sign in a file name by convention means that a file is not used independently but is included in other files. Print less is used to generate styles for the print version of store pages. Underscore styles less is a composite file which includes all less files used in the theme. Underscore styles less includes the Magento UI library, initial theme styles, and component styles. Styles M-less is used to generate mobile-specific styles. Includes resets, M underscore styles less, underscore theme less, modules, and widget styles. It's used to generate general and mobile-specific styles for a storefront. Styles L-less is used to generate desktop or perhaps laptop-specific styles. Styles L-less includes underscore style less, underscore theme less, modules, and widget styles, and is used to generate desktop-specific styles for a storefront. Source. This subdirectory contains the less configuration files that invoke mixins from the Magento UI library. Source underscore theme less overrides the default Magento UI library variable values. Including less files. To include a CSS file, add the CSS source, path, file, media, print option block in the head section of a layout file. Path is specified relative to the theme web directory. App, design, front end, vendor, theme, web. If the system does not find the included CSS files, it searches for the same file names with a .less extension. This is part of the built-in pre-processing mechanism. With underscore themeless, you can override the default variables of other parent themes. They're also used by Magento. There's underscore theme less in the Luma theme, which defines a number of variables for the less compiler. There's also an underscore extend less file, which could be used to extend the parent theme. However, it's currently not in use in the Magento Luma theme. Styles M-less gathers the Magento UI library and everything above and compiles the results into plain CSS, considering all general and mobile styles. Styles L-less is similar to Styles M-less, except that it considers only specific styles for laptops. At Magento underscore import is a Magento-specific less directive that allows you to include multiple files by a name pattern. It is used to include files with the same name from different locations, for example, from different modules. It's also used for widgets and extends. The Magento UI library is a flexible modular Magento front-end library that's designed to assist Magento theme developers. It employs a set of mixins for base elements to ease front-end theme development and customization. The Magento UI library offers the following characteristics for those who develop or customize Magento themes. You can use it to style base elements such as buttons, forms, tables, as well as specific elements such as breadcrumbs, action toolbars, tabs, and so on. In this module, you will learn about the Magento UI library, overriding and extending, and customization flow. The Magento UI library is built on the LESS preprocessor, focused on web standards, customizable, easy to maintain, responsive, accessible, employs a set of mixin for base elements customization, and allows you to use a mixin with default variable values or redefine them. The UI library in action. Mixins are a way of including or mixing in a bunch of properties from one rule set into another rule set. The Magento UI library source files are stored under the source directory, while the Magento UI library documentation is stored under the docs directory. libs, web, css, docs, source, readme.md describes the Magento UI library structure, naming conventions, and code style, while lib, web, css, docs contains a set of HTML files with detailed information about the library mixins. Each file is named after the mixin it describes and contains a detailed mixin description, navigation controls to access the documentation for other mixins. The documentation is available in convenient HTML view in the following location in your Magento installation: pubs, static, frontend, Magento, blank, en_us, CSS, docs, index.html. The library provides the ability to customize all of the user interface elements shown here. You can find the Magento UI library under lib, web, CSS. Library source less files are stored under the source directory. Each file contains mixins for configuring a certain element, and in most cases the element coincides with the file name. If you want to change these variables, there are multiple ways to do so. One way is to use the Magento UI library files and then override the default less files. In this example, you can override mixins, then use mixins or other lines to override existing style files from the Magento core modules by just placing them in the correct folder. You will find the UI library at lib, web, css, source, lib. Corresponding documentation with usage examples and coding guidelines can be found at lib, web, css, docs, index.html. To override a default library's variable value, specify the new value in app, design, frontend, vendor, theme, web, css, source, _theme.less. Note that app, design, frontend, vendor, theme, web, CSS, source, _theme.less overrides the _theme.less file of the parent theme if your theme has a parent. To inherit the parent theme's variable values in addition to your other changes, add the content of the parent's _theme.less to your file. The complete list of these variables and their default values are stored in lib, web, css, source, lib variables. This directory contains a set of files that correspond to the set of UI library elements, and each of the files lists element-specific variables. Let's look at how to extend these files. Here's an example of how to create a theme based on an existing theme. The slides that follow show the code that you work with to do each of these steps. Be sure that you understand these concepts before going on. Use a new theme for customization. Don't rewrite the existing Blank and Luna themes. Use a parent mechanism instead. Use Grunt for processing styles, and reuse the UI library. There is no extend for less files. The only way to extend less files is to add an _extend.less file to the module you need and do your customizations there, as described previously. Where you put the file depends on what you're extending. There is a file which is called underscore extends less plural, and there's one that's singular, underscore extend.less. For now, ignore the underscore extends plural and focus on the theme and the underscore extend less file. Well, underscore extend is a file that's not used by the core itself. Use the underscore extend less file within the subdirectory of the corresponding module, and these files will then be rendered in addition to the module.less. This is the magic behind the commented out at Magento import directory. After Magento runs through the web CSS folder of every folder for every module load, it will then load the file from the web CSS folder and then start with your styles M and styles L for the front end. It will also use the files like print and so on. Within the source directory, there are files that might be used for mix-ins or by the Magento core system, but they're also the underscore theme.less files. You can see the reference in import underscore theme.less. This file is used for your customization of the Magento themes, and you can work with these files. When you're using the Magento UI library and you want to modify some basic variables, do that in the underscore theme.less file, which you create in your vendor and theme directory web source file. Here's the issue. If you're extending another theme, then the underscore theme.less in your custom theme will prevent Magento from loading the original one from the parent theme. And because there's no merging, it's in effect a regular fallback. So if you have an underscore theme.less here and you want to keep all of that content in your own underscore theme.less file, you have to copy it over. Basically, it's the same with the old local.xml file in Magento 1.8 and below, or the 1.13 Enterprise and below. Sometimes it's not possible to undo work that's coming from the underscore module.less of the parent theme because they're applying a lot of styles in a specific element, and then it might be easier to override the underscore module.less in your theme, because in that case, you can just delete the lines. So you have two ways to handle this issue, and you have to choose what you want to do. If you want to extend the original content, it's better to use underscore extend.less. If you have to remove or rework something, then it might be easier to override the underscore module.less file and do it there. In this module, you will learn about server-side and client-side compiling, styles debugging, local compilation, and using Grunt. There are multiple ways to compile less: server-side compilation, client-side compilation, or local compilation. You can switch between the first two modes in the admin configuration area as shown on one of the later sides. By default, Magento uses server-side compilation. Server-side compilation with PHP is the default choice, used for first-time compilation after setup and for production mode. Cons: slow, global recompile, need to delete static files before each run. Pros: no additional setup required, works on the server side. Client-side compilation with JavaScript is optional and is used to quickly preview changes and to debug small issues. Cons: annoying blinking before styles compile, global recompile. Pros: no additional need for setup, can be switched in admin area, fast. Client-side less compilation is implemented using the native less.js library. Certain types of changes require you to clear the pub, static, front-end, vendor, theme locale directory and trigger the compilation and publication processes anew. For example, if you change the root source files that contain the @Magento import directive or the @import directive where the imported file is specified without extension. If you rename, remove, or add a .less file imported with an @Magento import or @import directive, but you did not correct the directives accordingly, you can find the detailed information about the configuration and other options of less.js used in a browser at lesscss.org. In server-side less compilation mode, to have your changes applied, clear the pub, static, front-end, vendor, theme, locale by deleting the directory in the file system and reload the store pages to trigger compilation and publication. To learn more, see Styles Debugging in the Developer Guide. Local compilation with Node.js and Grunt Task Runner is an advanced mode recommended for deep customization. Cons: requires initial setup of local environment. Pros: fast, recompiles only local changes, easy to debug, can be automated with watching and live reload. Before running the following commands, you need to copy the package json.sample to package.json and gruntfile.js.sample to gruntfile.js. To set up local compilation, install Node.js, install Grunt Task Runner, install the npm packages. Register your theme in dev, tools, grunt, configs, themes.js. Here are some useful grunt commands. Grunt refresh cleans up static files, generates symlinks, and compiles all theme styles. Grunt clean cleans up static files. Grunt less compiles less to CSS. Grunt watch starts watching changes on save and compiles less to CSS if any changes occur. Grunt exec theme replenishes symlinks to the source files to pub, static, frontend, vendor, theme, locale directory. To add your theme to Grunt configuration, in the dev, tools, grunt, configs, theme.js file, add your theme to module.exports. Use the code shown here as a model where theme is your theme code by which convention should correspond to the theme directory name. Language, specified in the code underscore subtag format, for example, en_us. Only one locale can be specified here. To debug the theme with another locale, create one more theme declaration having specified another value for the language. Path to file. Path to the root source file relative to the app, design, front-end, vendor, theme, web directory. You need to specify all root source files of the theme. If your theme inherits from a certain theme and does not contain its own root source files, specify the root source files of the parent theme. The details can be found in the Magento Frontend Developer's Guide in the Styles Debugging topic, CSS Preprocessing topic, and the Themes Inheritance topic. For Grunt details, you can also see the Magento Developer's Guide. And for root source files, see the CSS Preprocessing topic. For inheritance information, see the Theme Inheritance topic in the Developer Documentation Guide. Use these grunt tasks for debugging in each of these situations. After you switch the compilation mode, after you customize the content of any .less file, after you customize the root source files or move included files. To learn more, see Styles Debugging in the Developer Guide. Follow the instructions for this exercise shown on the slide. For this exercise, follow the instructions shown on the slide. For this exercise, follow the instructions shown on the slide. You should now know about static theme files, Magento JavaScript library, publishing web assets, using require.js, the Magento UI library, overriding and extending, customization flow, server-side and client-side compiling, styles debugging, local compilation, and using Grunt. End of Unit 2. We've covered a lot of ground in this unit. To continue, go to Unit 3.